Hey guys, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Israel today. What's happening there now on November 3rd, 2020. But I don't really literally mean right this second. I just mean broadly. Like we learned all about Israel's history. Now I'm going to tell you what's happening in Israel right now. Okay, so to do that, I have to give you some history. So in what's the last year we talked about? I can't remember exactly, but I think we went all the way up to the 300s. I know we talked about 70, but yeah, I don't remember. Let's go with 70. So in 70 CE, what happened? The Romans destroyed Jerusalem and the Second Temple of Jerusalem. And then, and the Romans were in charge. Now I have to give you a little, tiny little history of the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was huge, and Jerusalem was over here in the east. Well, I could give you a month-long lecture on what happened to the Roman Empire, but I don't have time for that. So at one point, the Roman Empire was so big that one person couldn't control it. So they had a leader over here in the west, and they had a leader over here in the east. After that, like years after that, the Roman Empire fell apart. The western part, like, died. It was taken over by a whole bunch of different people and fell into disrepair, and it was all messed up, and it went into the Dark Ages. You've probably all heard of the Dark Ages. Well, the eastern part kept going. The eastern part of the Roman Empire was still strong, still going strong, still conquering land, still getting bigger. And people called it, they kind of changed the name of it. They changed it to the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire is the eastern part of the Roman Empire. So if you ever hear anyone, just like the Temple of Solomon and the first temple of Jerusalem, that's one temple. We're talking about the exact same temple. Well, the eastern part of the Roman Empire and the Byzantine Empire are the same thing. So the western part fell, the eastern part was still going really strong, and that was in the 300s. Well, in the 600s, I'm going to draw my picture again. Here was the west, it's gone. The east has risen up, it's super strong. Well, in the 600s, this land was conquered. Well, not all of it. Let me go back just a little bit. Parts of it were attacked by the Ottoman Empire. And the Ottoman Empire were Muslims. And Jerusalem was here. And Jerusalem was captured by the Ottoman Empire. The Byzantine Empire still existed, was still going strong, but they were losing some land, and Jerusalem was part of it. Jerusalem was captured by Ottomans. Now, let's fast forward 500 years. Between the 600s and the 1100s, all kinds of stuff happened in the land where Jerusalem was. Sometimes it was led by Arabs, sometimes it was led by other people, all kinds of wars and fighting and stuff. And you don't need to know it all. Just know that between the 600s and 1100s, all kinds of crap happened in that area. But in the 1100s, Muslims took control again. And Muslims controlled the area of Jerusalem, what we think of as Israel, Judea, whatever, that land. Muslims controlled that land for a long time. 1948. Now we're going to fast forward to actually, I don't want to do 1948 yet. I want to do 1941. Hopefully you guys have heard about World War II. World War II was the Nazis against the Nazis' enemies. I don't really have enough time. It would take me, this lecture would take me like 25 hours to tell you about World War II. But in simple terms, one of the main causes of World War II was Adolf Hitler blamed all the problems of Germany on the Jews. You know, you've done this before. I'm sure you've done this before. You messed up. You didn't do something right, but you refused to take blame for it, and you blamed someone else. I'm sure you've done that before. Well, that's what Hitler did. In fact, all through history, the Jews have always been like the scapegoat. The scapegoat is the person that everyone blames. Something went wrong, it was the Jew. A store was broken into, it was a Jew. The economy collapsed, it's the Jews' fault. And they were just the person that everybody blamed. So Hitler blamed, at this time, Germany wasn't doing so well financially. They were in a really weak place. And Hitler rose to power saying it was all the Jews' fault. Well, then he did some pretty awful, horrible things to the Jews. He tortured a lot of them. He killed a lot of them, like millions and millions of them. He killed millions of Jews. Now, let's fast forward to after the war. That war ended in 1945, and the good guys won. Yay! Hitler's dead. The Nazi Party is destroyed. In 1948, the United Nations got together and wanted to do something nice for the Jews of the world. Because, you know, Hitler had just killed millions of them. And the United Nations, I hope you know what the United Nations is. It's a group of all the nations on Earth, and everybody sends a representative. And then they all sit around and they talk about how are we going to run the world? Well, the United Nations got together and wanted to do something nice for the Jews. And they said, let's give them their homeland back. Let's give them their homeland back. Where was their homeland? Their homeland, Judea, Israel. It was called Palestine at this time. In 1948, it was Palestine. But who was it that was in charge of Palestine? The Muslims. Muslims controlled Palestine. And no one really asked the Muslims their opinion. The United Nations just got together and said, we are going to do this. Now, they invited the Muslim leaders to their meeting, but the Muslims were so angry about it, they boycotted the meetings. That means they didn't go. Because here's this group of people talking about taking away land that belongs to them and giving it to someone else. And so no one's happy about that. Like, if your mom walked into your room right now and took your laptop away from you and said, I'm going to give this to somebody else, how happy are you about that? Not very happy about that. So it went forward, and the United Nations created Israel. So the United Nations just took land from the Muslims and said, this isn't yours anymore. This belongs to the Jews now. And Jews from all over the world moved into Israel. But the Muslims were like, no, this is my land. This is our land. Get out. And the Jews were saying, no, 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 no. This is our promised land. We have a covenant with God that this is our land, and the United Nations has given it to us. This is our land. And the Muslims said, no, we've been in control of this land since the 1100s. Look, the 1100s all the way to 1948, it's been Muslim land. And the United Nations, because of World War II and because of horrible, horrible atrocities that happened to the Jews, they wanted to do something nice for them. And they said, we're giving you this land back, your promised land, the land that your ancestors made a covenant with God. We're giving you this land. But the Muslims were not happy about it. And war broke out. And it's pretty much still going now. It's not the safest place in the world to live, because Muslims will attack the Jews, and then the Jews attack the Muslims. And I don't know, who's to say? Like, it's your personal opinion. Whose land is that? The Muslims had led that land from 1100 to 1948. It was theirs. But the United Nations, this is all the nations of the world, most of the nations of the world, the United Nations got together and said, we're giving this land to Israel. We're giving this land to the Jews. Was it their land to give? I don't know. That's your decision to make. But if you ever hear anyone talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about the UN gave land to the Jews and called it Israel, but it had been Palestine since forever ago, and the Muslims had been in control for 800 years. 800 years they had been in charge of that land. And the UN came in and said, we're taking this land away from you and we're giving it to the Jews. But the Jews believe they have a covenant with God. They believe it is their promised land. And horrible, horrible things had happened to them in World War II. And the world felt they owed something to the Jews. And so they wanted to give them their promised land back. That's what's going on with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And people all over the world have differing opinions. You guys right here that I'm teaching, some of you might think that the Jews should get the land. And some of you might think that the Muslims should keep the land. It was theirs. And that's okay. It's your opinion. None of us live there. We don't have to deal with the constant stress of living there. But, you know, let me know what I would like you. I'm giving you an assignment right now. I want you to write me a little essay. This is personal opinion. You don't have to do any research at all. Just based on what I told you right here in this lecture, write me an essay on your opinion. Oh, spell words correctly, Mrs. Gibbons. Opinion. Write me an essay on your opinion of this, with this conflict, who should get the land? Should the Israelis get the land? Or should the Palestinians get the land? Palestinians. Who should get it and why? Tell me who you think should get it and why. I'm not giving you any amount of words that you have to write. If you can write me a really good essay and answer these questions really clearly in 1 page, then give me a 1-page essay. If you need 2 pages, give me a 2-page essay. It doesn't matter to me. I just want you, I want to read your opinions. I want to see that you have good, solid opinions about what's happening, and tell me what you think about it. Okay, bye guys.